Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Gadget Nation with me, Adam Carruthers. I am currently at Publica. Now it's really wet and rainy out here, so I want to get inside, but in store today, Duolingo, no, that's not a word I just made up. It's actually something plus something from Google. I'm excited. Are you? Let's start. I got one hand on my tablet, the other one is, I can't remember the lyrics because I've just made it up here on the spot. What tablet though? This little bad boy right here from Google themselves. It's the Nexus 7. I'm excited about it. Looks slick, looks nice, a lot of hype, and it's cheap. Let's find out exactly what it has to offer. Google Nexus 7, that's what I'm holding in my hands right now. Very excited now. A few months after it launched, it's still going strong. The 8GB model has been discontinued, so it's effectively been revised. 32GB is out and about now. Pretty nifty if you ask me, and we've got really competition for this now because the iPad mini has come out, the Nook HD, the Kindle Fire. I mean, competition is endless. But what makes this stand out? It's a good question. Firstly, the back, I really like it. It's got this nice leathery, classy feel to it, embossed with Nexus there and Asus there as well. And that's literally all you have on the back. Yeah, you got some grills there for the speaker, but that is it. Very, very nice touch of panache. Talk a little bit about what's underneath the hood on this bad boy. Tegra 3 quad core. That is pretty powerful if you ask me. Obviously, at the end of the day, you may have all of this hardware processing power. What about the content? Luckily, Google, obviously their phone series is generally acknowledged as being better, but the Play Store is getting better and better when it comes to tablet-specific apps. Saying that, if you're in it just to play games, honestly, the iPad, the collection and, well, the vast quality control in the iPad universe is probably stronger than the tablet universe in the Android world. But if everything else is what you're looking at, like different files that you want to open, different multimedia players, and freedom to use all of those things, this would definitely be a pretty solid choice if you ask me. And obviously, things are only going to get better within the Play Store as it continues to grow and develop, and more apps are coming out. However, like I said, if it's just games you want, this probably might not be the right one for you. Now let's talk about some of the drawbacks. Firstly, memory. The most you're going to get out of this, with the whole revised edition, because they've dropped the 8GB, the most you can get is 32. Which for me is probably never enough. I tend to keep a lot of files on hand, be it multimedia files or this document or that document. There is no micro SD or SD card slot, no expandable memory on this whatsoever. And on that note, you can't take the back off. It's all stuck together. That means that the battery goes, there goes your device. However, bearing in mind the price point, just remember there's also nothing here except a headphone jack and a micro USB port right there. The price, that's where it sells itself. Now, it hasn't got all the bells and whistles. That's where it helps out with the price. So there are pros and cons to not having the memory. This is very cheap, but also very powerful at the same time. So in closing, what do I think? Haven't even touched it on the screen, just to add a side note on that. Not quite as bright as some of the other tablet devices or even the smaller tablets that we've seen from other competitors, even compared to something like the S3, not nearly as crystal clear or sharp, but it'll definitely do the job in that aspect. The price is the biggest selling point above everything else, apart from its size. 999 ringgit really is a good value tablet. I mean, like I said, Tegra 3 quad-core, it is still powerful, but it lacks the bells and whistles like any other sort of port. All it has is a micro USB here for charging and connecting to computer, and it's got a headphone jack, and well, that's about it really. Yeah, it's got a volume button on the side, but that's obviously going to be there. It does have a camera on the front. It's not great, it's about 1.2 megapixels as well. Bearing in mind the cost, if you're going to throw this into your bag, not much is going to happen to it, and it is replaceable because it's not, say, 2,000 ringgit, practice half the price, making this very good value. Just think what you need it for. Day-to-day stuff, walking around and carrying, and documents and stuff could be great. For games, etc., lots of multimedia, I'm not so sure. Buongiorno. Yes, that's terrible Italian, apparently. What about bonjour, je m'appelle Adam? I'm speaking a little bit of French. Want to pick up a new language? There's a new tool that could help you do so in a more fun and possibly creative way. I'm talking about Duolingo. Let's find out what it has to offer. Little known fact about me, I am absolutely terrible at languages. I need as much help as I can get just trying to pick up the mere basics. And I'll tell you what, they really tried when I was in school and they didn't do very well. However, with the advancement of technology, I think learning became just a little bit easier, making it fun and in using others around you as well across the entire world. I'm talking about a new app. It's called Duolingo now. The beta came out sometime around June, and that was on the website. Not too long ago, in fact in November, the mobile version came up, which is why I'm holding a phone right here to show you in a short while. Let me tell you about this. Right now, my producer, I have her phone, she's trying to learn a little bit of French. So I'm going to play around and see exactly how good she is at her French. Now, this app, Duolingo, it's very intuitive to an extent, but it uses crowdsourcing, which is ingenious, and also the learning tools are very, very good using images and so forth. What am I talking about? Let's take a look. Firstly, let me just go through a more tutorial aspect of how to use it. Log on to the Duolingo website and create an account. Now, you can do this by signing in via Facebook or Twitter, or create one using your email address. Now, apart from the fact that they would be able to advertise their application on your Facebook or Twitter, it also allows you to connect with your user base of friends. Now, should they be using the application as well, you can effectively compete to an extent to see how your friends are doing in terms of new language learning. So it's quite fun in that aspect, like I talked about earlier on. So if you're very competitive, maybe you'll enjoy that part. Now, once you log into it via your computer, laptop, or right now, the mobile application, you're basically going to choose your language you want to learn, be it Spanish or Portuguese. Now we're going to go with French. Very, very cool language, I have to say. So here's how it is. It's effectively a roadmap. This is your coursework, I guess you put it in school terms. And all these gray icons are everything that you have to unlock, different stages of your learning. Now, obviously, we've just started here, and the basics, part 1, there's all sorts of things within there. you've mastered. So all of this is done. Real world translation, you can see right there. That, of course, is the crowdsourcing element that we're talking about earlier on. So I mentioned quite a few things here, like how it's fun. You can see it's very visually stimulating. Now, as a learning tool, in case you didn't know, that helps a lot in terms of, see? And it speaks to me as well. It really, really helps in terms of learning, and I do enjoy using that. Now, the thing about learning is, obviously people had to take a lot of courses to learn how to teach, and the co-founders of this really have gone all out in terms of how to learn and the progression. I mean, just one basic part here until you master it. I mentioned earlier on about the real-world translation and so forth, but also it will cause you to recap everything. Now, this, as a learning process, equates to one thing. It's logical, and it stimulates your brain and ensures that certain words are stayed there. Now, other aspects of French, which are very different from something like English or Bahasa, is the fact that you've got feminine words and masculine words. It can get very confusing, but the learning part of this really helps, and it stresses you to really, really remember everything, and it will test you as well later on in order to pass these basic sections. Now, I also mentioned how it uses visual stimuli as well. For example, I was playing around with it, and I was asked to remember the word for cheese. So how it does it is, it obviously has a word there. It has the girl saying how to pronounce fromage, but it's also got the pictures there. Now, if you don't know anything about teaching, that is a huge aspect of learning, and it can really, really, really ingrain things inside your mind. A lot of thought has gone into that. Here comes the cool part. Now, each section is broken up into blocks, which I showed you, where everything becomes grey or golden, depending if you've unlocked it. Now, the real-world translation, that's the fun part of everything. Choose the page you want and start translating. Now, you can then submit it, and it will check against other scores and so forth. Now, this is by far the best crowdsourcing element of learning out there that I've seen, not only on the computer, but also on the mobile device. And it really, really adds something different to the whole learning process. It makes it applicable to the learner, i.e. you or me in the situation, or my producer, for example. Now, I really, really find that really fun. See, real world document. I've already translated this part here, and that's how it looks like, and it will double check everything. Now, once you pass these check marks, you can start moving on to the next section. Now, overall, all of these different elements make this a very fun learning tool, a very social one as well, due to the connection with Facebook and Twitter. If you want to try learning French with a friend, you're not always together, you can always try using this and seeing exactly how your friend stacks up as well. Definitely worth a go, and hey, knowledge is power, so why not pick up a new language? Changes, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, and nowadays old school is a new school, so it's supposed to be cool and stuff. I don't know, I'm not that cool, but Penny Arcade, episodes 1 and 2, really cool. And if you're a fan of the first 2 episodes, I'm sure that you've heard the news of the, or rather seen the changes they've done stylistically speaking. Now, I don't have that much of an opinion on Rain Stick 3. However, one man that does, because he's already sat down and give it a spun, is our man Avery. Let's see what he has to say.
Hey, and welcome to the Gamer Station. I'm Avery Score, your host. Mild-mannered gamer by day, even milder-mannered gamer by night. I get fatigued in the evenings. And today we're playing on the Rain-Slick Precipice of Darkness 3, as you might have imagined, the 3rd iteration in the On the Rain-Slick Precipice of Darkness franchise from Penny Arcade. So if you're a fan of the webcomic Penny Arcade starring Tycho Brahe and Gabe, you will pick up a lot of jokes in this game. But even if you're not, there's a lot to enjoy here, and the first thing is the humor. The humor is spectacular, the writing is great, just the kind of stuff that you would expect from Tycho. It's hot off the presses, and the gags are fast and furious. From the types of enemies that you encounter, hints, lots of zombies, lots of hobos, and true to form for this series, lots of undying gods from the nethers surging up to combat our proud heroes. And the heroes are back. You play again as Tycho, as Gabe, and as Jim, who, as you might know, lost his body in an unfortunate adventure-related incident and is now just a skull kind of in a beaker. Although you can upgrade his beaker over the course of the game. Indeed, the weapon system and the item system is quite simple in this game. You essentially have a main item, which boosts your stats, and you have a weapon, which is specific to your character class. So switching those two things in and out as you progress through the game is what improves your characters beyond simply leveling up. But there is depth here in the form of classes. Each character can have up to 3 classes at a time. He has his own inherent class, and then you can equip him with classes that you discover from specific items that are actually created from warriors that were defeated by a lone priestess. So these are quite funny, including the Slacker class, which is the relic left over from her Slacker son. There's the Gardener class, which I use to great effect, which allows you to hoe gardens, which have either restorative or damaging properties. Additionally, there's the Hobo class, which I use a great deal. There are, as always, hobos roaming about in Pelican Bay, some of whom are disguised as clowns. Don't ask. And you can use hobofication to weaken your opponents by turning them to hapless hobos asking for change, and subsequent hobo-based attacks are more effective against hobos. So try to wrap your head around that. Finally, there's the Dino Sorcerer class, which I like quite a lot, and I've equipped Gabe with because I really think it fits his character. Which allows the transformation of the Dino Sorcerer into any of a number of dinosaurs, velociraptors, including the Cthulhusaurus, a nod to the H.P. Lovecraft god that was defeated in a previous game. So this time around, the main plot revolves around cultists who are trying to revive a god called Yog-Modath. And they're also keen on stopping Tycho Brahe, who, as you may know, is intent on stopping the course of the universe, destroying it all, as is the mission of his family. You'll find some familiar characters in addition to Tycho Brahe and Jim, including Anne Claire, the genius niece of Tycho, who goes a long way to resolving some of the mysteries that the troupe encounters, and a new character in the form of Mora, Tycho's ex-wife. Big revelation there. She's kind of a sleuth, and she uses her gumshoe-based attacks to great effect. There's a great deal of dialogue in this game, but not a lot of little mini-games or, typical fare with exploring towns that you might expect from an RPG. Indeed, you progress from realm to realm, from zone to zone, using kind of a Super Mario World style map interface, which is interesting. There's even one notable world which sort of rockets you even further back in the already very primitive and retro visuals to early NES RPG era. So they're definitely playing with some retro gaming references there. All in all, this game's probably going to take you about 15 to 19 hours to complete, depending on how many of the side quests you do and how much time you spend in the Colosseum. The gameplay and the combat are big standouts here, fortunately, because you spend a huge amount of your time in the combat. Both the class system and the timing system, which allows you to interrupt enemy attacks, strategically go a long way to keeping the combat interesting throughout literally thousands of encounters. This is a great game to pick up. If you played the previous titles, you're going to be a little shocked with the graphics and sound at first. It's going to be pretty much midis and pixels and not much else. And if you're picking it up for the first time, you're going to be encountering a retro gaming experience that you don't see a lot on modern platforms. What I can assure you of, though, is that you're going to laugh out loud, you're going to have a good time, and you're going to consider this Steam bucks well spent. I'm Avery Score, thanks for watching.
Sadly, this week's episode is at an end, but we want to give a big shout out to Publica for hosting us here today. Now, coming up in the next episode, though, I promise you a little bit of Halo 4. Really excited about that. And Summerly. What's that all about? My name is Adam Carruthers. Till next time.